validated. With that in mind, we're going to move on to Guy Checketts, who's Head of Transformation and Evaluation at the Oxford AHSN, the Academic Health Science Network, who's been deeply involved in PLGF-based testing for some years now, who's very well placed to talk about adoption success and future plans. Guy, over to you.
Thanks, Lucy. Right, hopefully. Can you see slides?
That's good, Guy. And if you want to put them into...
Yeah, I think it's waiting for catch up. Hang on, there we go.
That's it, perfect.
So, so thanks for the introduction, Lucy. For anyone that's not heard of the Academic Health Science Network before, we were first commissioned by NHS England in 2013 with the remit of bringing new technology into the NHS, specifically to improve patient outcomes, help with resource utilisation and overall save the system money. And we've heard a lot this afternoon about pre-eclampsia and PLGF-based testing. And the couple of slides I'm going to take you through are around the project I've been doing recently, which is really a national project supported by the HSN network to drive adoption of PLGF-based testing across England. Just to reflect back to a comment that was made earlier, I think somebody said it was only available in England. That's not quite the case. It is available in all the home nations. It's just the funding that I'm about to talk about is only available in England to support adoption. So if you're a practitioner elsewhere in the UK, you can access these tests today. So as we've heard, we're talking about diagnostic tests to help in the diagnosis of pre-eclampsia. And the whole initiative is really underpinned by NICE DG23 that came out in 2016, where two tests in particular are cited as a rule to use as a rule-out test with greater than 99 negative predictive value. PLGF testing is also cited in the more recent RCOG hypertension guidelines as well. And my understanding is those DG23 guidelines are due to be updated very soon and will include other tests as well when that happens. So we're really talking here about a patient safety, patient risk management proposition, why these tests are used. And the funding that I mentioned just now is innovation technology payment funding that's been made available by the Accelerated Access Collaborative, which is part of NHS England. And that's really to help trusts go through that adoption period to put these tests into standard clinical practice. And the funding to date has been available to support the Roche and the Quidel tests that are available. But as we've heard today, there are other companies as well with tests available, PerkinElmer and Thermo Fisher among them. And when a trust's looking to adopt one of these tests, it's really a case of considering the entire pathway that the test goes into. Like many diagnostic tests, if you simply add the test into current pathways, then invariably all you end up doing is adding cost and usually time to the process. So in doing so, part of what the HSNs have been doing is working with trusts to understand their pathway and work out how to modify that in the best way to maximise the benefit of adopting the tests. And this project has actually been incredibly successful so far. The ITP funding has been available since April last year, so about 18 months. And in that time, we've seen uptake by over half of all the maternity services in England who have put it into standard practice, and over 25% more are actively adopting that test as we speak. So just the last slide, just to give you some idea of the context and the timelines that have been surrounding this project, and to give you some idea of the speed at which these tests have been adopted. Somebody mentioned earlier the oft-quoted statistic of 17 years for the NHS to adopt innovation. We're seeing this happen much more quickly than that, partly due to the value of the test and partly because of the support that the HSN network has been able to give to its adoption. So before April 2019, which is when the ITP funding kicked in, we saw a few early adopters taking up the test. And up to that time as well, particularly the manufacturers themselves were driving real world evaluations to demonstrate the value of the tests. And many people that are on this call today have actually been involved in generation of a lot of that clinical evidence and support the tests today. So it's great to have this community of common interest around these tests. So since April 2019, when it became a national HSN project, that's when we've seen the majority of the adoption happen. And that's when the support of the ITP funding has been in place. And that extends out to the end of March next year. So we've got 5 or 6 months of that funding left that trusts can take advantage of. And once we go past April of next year, we're expecting a new medtech funding mandate to come into place. We had hoped that would have been announced and signed off by now, so we could start working with trusts to help them understand what that means and ensure we get that continuity of use through the end of April or through the end of March into April next year. But importantly with this change is it will now involve commissioners in that discussion. Up till now, it's purely been a discussion and a decision made by providers of maternity services. So it's something we need to do is bring commissioners into the discussion as well. But the HSN network are still here to support and work with trusts to help them with that adoption. And obviously the manufacturers themselves are extremely motivated to see this adoption and continued use of these tests. So if you have a relationship with an HSN, if you have a relationship with one of the manufacturers, please reach out to them and work with them, and we collectively can support you to help bring that testing into your standard practice. That's me. Thanks, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Guy. That was a very quick summary of what I know has been years in the gestating, so really useful. So